Thank you very much, Jake, for the introduction. And I want to acknowledge the organization for this conference and my colleagues on the panel. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Um, wow. Um, from Samoa to New Zealand, I'm going to take you to Micronesia. And with that, I will start with a chant that goes like this. E sabolo bone wata e sabotapwe no ya e sabolo ne wata e sabotapwe no ya to na e pwe we I sare ke ne wata to na e pwe we I sare ke ne wata e malu te ku sapono matawe ya serak watale matawe lupo e sabuato e ayo e kongus. Woo! Hi. um So we have arrived in Micronesia on my small island of Onon. My When I was invited to speak at this conference, I'm going, okay, I'm not an academia. What can I contribute? But the invitation reminded me a lot about the course and a group that I was very privileged to be with at UH Manoa when I was doing my master's. And it's called Representing Oceania. It was there that I realized that in a college, gaining a master's level degree, that I can actually be free to share my knowledge, who I am, with my class. And I feel like this space is providing that to me today. And so I am going to talk from a very organic and perspective of a Chugis woman who is from also the outer island. Um, so this is where I come from. Before I start, though, I want to acknowledge because my topic will be talking more about what health means to us as Micronesians and as Chugis. And I do have a cousin who's like a sister in our culture. There's no word for cousins. There's no word for uncles. There's no word for aunties. It's all mama, papa, or pipui and mongie. So I have a sister on here who's organizing this uh, talk today, and that's Dr. Angela Robinson. I am so proud of her. She was my baby sister when I first arrived in Hawaii. Um, anyways, I in our culture, my culture and Angela's culture, uh, we come from a clan system, and the clan uh, goes through the mother's side. So when my father, who's Angela's mother's brother, married my mom, who's in this picture right here with the shaka, um, he had to move to live with my mom on my mother's island because my mom, as a woman in her society, hold the land and the food for her children. So this is why my father had to leave his island to join my mom. And that happens to many men that married out of the islands. They move to their wife's island so that they can be, with their family and raise a family there. Um, oops. Hmm. Sorry, I'm trying to share my slide, move on to the next slide, but I'm not seem to be able to do that. Oh, there you go. Um, so like Jake mentioned, I went to Xavier High School, but I wanted to highlight my educational journey. That it my whole goal to gain my education and um, gosh, I cannot even talk anymore. My major in college was all determined by my family and my culture and my community. Growing up on a small island like that or a small atoll is very remote. There's no doctors, there's no hospitals. And I witnessed my grandparents and people getting sick where our medicines were no longer working, our traditional medicines. And I really wanted to go off to learn to to be able to come back and help our people. And everyone felt that that was what's important for our community, and they were all supportive of me going off. Um, I also want to share that my parents didn't work for money. I also grew up in on an island that we don't live off money, but we live off the land. So everyone on the island supported my education. Xavier High School in this picture here. I'm actually posing with my brothers from Kiribati. Um, but this high school here, it's a Jesuit school, and you pay for your tuition. It's a private school. I didn't have the money, so my families all contributed. My paternal uncle, my maternal cousin and uncles, and including the priest on the island, and that's how I made it. Just want to give you a closer look of, I come from Micronesia, from Chuk, and Micronesia is actually made up of seven um, nations or territories. Some of these nations are affiliated with, I think, closely affiliated with the South Pacific. Um, they were colonies of Britain and I think New Zealand or Australia. I know Nauru is it's closely affiliated with Australia, but the rest of us are with the United States. I know when I read the topic of this, the things that stood out to me, it's colonization, decolonizing, uh, uh, indigenizing. And so I want to share my talk from that perspective. If you take a closer look, I just want to take you really closer to our islands. The Micronesia really, this is just the Federated States of Micronesia. It spreads out. There's so many islands. I like how Philly was, sharing about Niue and about those pictures. I think in order for us to truly understand and to truly understand the health of Pacific Islanders, identity is very, very important, and I'm going to talk about that um, in the later slide. But identity is very important, and for us, for me, as a Chukis woman, I didn't learn I was Chukis until I went to Xavier High School, because Chuk literally means mountain. I do not have mountain on my island, and you guys can see it from the slide, and it really matters. Those things matter to us when we move abroad and here in diaspora. The way we are being represented, it's not truthful to our truth, to our own story. So that's why I really want to tell this story from my own perspective, from my own story, so that people can understand what does health really means. And yeah, and so in these four states of Micronesia, there's four main islands, and that's the only islands that have electricity, running water, uh, airport, high school. To further your education, you have to leave the islands to go and further your education. And I think a lot of us Pacific Islanders experience that. And so the changes in our families started when education was introduced, where our older siblings had to leave to go off to college. And I love how Philly also talks a lot about the sister-brother relationship, because I believe in that, and I also am going to talk to that. Um, we had our share of colonial powers that had shaped who we are today. I have Japanese uncles. We have very close relationship with the priests and the missionaries that came to Micronesia. Even relationship between um, you know, Samoa, Hawaii, where the missionaries came in from Hawaii. And during the German time, the Samoans, or maybe from Western Samoa, were in Chuk and were all over the Pacific, just working with the Germans. And those exchanges happened way early on, even before, the comeback of Free Association. Um, and but one thing that I know I have only 10 minutes. I want to spend time on this part, and that is our Micronesian values. Um, what does it mean to be a Chugis woman, or what does that mean to me as a woman who holds the family? Because I generate the clan. Um, our number one value in Micronesia is relationship, and if you look closely at relationship, it is the core of our health. It is believed that when one person is sick within the family, that it is a cause of a damage in the relationship in the family. With all of this introduced um communicable diseases, it's really difficult to work with us because or with our folks because it's hard for them to see that eating delicious food can make you sick, can make your blood pressure go up, can make your um, cholesterol level go up, because our culture is a culture of food and culture of like food is healthy for us. But when our diet changes, that also changes with that. So that's why I see that colonialism and our health relationship, they're very interconnected. um, I'm looking at my time. So I want to spend time to focus um, on the recent event that happened here in Honolulu with the 16 years old that was shot by the police. Um, a lot of people have reached out and wonder what we can do about that. But in my looking at that situation and the situation about relationship, um, I, when you do not have a good relationship, you do not have a good, um, uh, then you do not see the human relationship. And I just feel like for these kids to do um, those things that they did prior to the teen getting shot, um, that's not Micronesian culture. That's not my Chugis culture. Um, but there has to be something wrong. And the more I look closely at that, in and reflecting on my own experience too, I know when we grow up back home, everyone we know each other and we're all interrelated. Here in Hawaii, we are related. We are related to people that are nice to us, and those will be considered our friends. But when these kids are faced with discrimination, I think, and being lost of not knowing their culture anymore and where they come from, um, that's where I feel like this behavior may have stemmed from. So to really end this, when I tried to understand what is decolonization, what does um, indigenizing mean to me, and one word come to me, and that is the word of my uncle in teaching, and it's the word that is equivalent to those terms because we don't, have those terms in our culture, but it's the word called matauhefel. And matauhefel is really to be able to, and this is a term that navigators use when they go out or they journey out into the ocean, and before they can no longer see land, they have to turn around to see where they originate from, where they came from, in order for them to be able to reach their destination and be able to come back home. um, Within relationship, it is so important that we understand the relationships within, because then it can also guide us to our role in the family and our responsibility in the family, and um, and I think that's one area that our children really needs. And so I know I'm like going off and off, but um, my term for today is really the word matahefel, and I think it encompasses everything that we try to talk about today, to be able to, as Pacific Islanders in diaspora, as we try to decolonize, it will be hard to decolonize if we don't know where we originate from. And when in looking at that, I also felt that decolonization will have different, um, you know, point, start point with each different individual. Um, and I think for academia, it is so valued to hear this perspective of indigenous people, because they can really enrich, the body of knowledge that we're trying to teach future leaders, future, people that will take care of our community. And I thank you again for this opportunity.